Local and state representatives, and to the members of the Greater Attleboro community, welcome to the MLK Committee's 31st Annual Martin Luther King Holiday Program. Thank you for taking time out of your day to honor the legacy of the Reverend Dr. King. It's important that we remember Dr. King's message of equality, social justice, brotherhood of man, and nonviolence. As the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King approaches, now is a good time to reflect on the civil rights leader's legacy of nonviolence, on his vision of a beloved community, and on how each relates to our 21st century struggles for racial justice. What the Reverend Dr. King and other leaders of the civil rights movement left this nation as an inheritance is a well-orchestrated and well-articulated social justice movement packed with noble deeds. In addition, King left us an invaluable collection of words that express his life's philosophy and his nonviolent ideology. His voice on the subject of racial justice and race equality still resound with truth and should be an integral part of any current movement of social justice. So once again, I thank you for joining us today to remember Dr. King and his message. We're going to start the program off today with words in a proclamation from our new mayor, Mayor Paul Heroux.
Good morning, or good afternoon. This should only take about 15 minutes or so. Joke. Outside voice, very good. Thanks, Irene. Irene knows me better. Good morning, good afternoon. And it is an honor to be here today celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Dr. King's contribution to society is nearly unrivaled. He was a leader in his time and is an inspiration in our time. Having begun his quest for civil rights at the age of 25 years old until his untimely death at the age of 39, Dr. King's work continues today. We're living in a time where what it means to be American is questioned. What does it mean to be American? Dr. King believed that being an American meant that this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Have we achieved that goal? While we no longer discriminate against people of an Irish or Japanese descent, ask yourself, do we still have a problem with the way incarceration disproportionately affects people of color, or how an average person of color may earn less than someone who's Caucasian over the course of their life? Are many people suspicious of people who come from the Middle East, or have people wearing a turban and a Sikh been mistaken and attacked because they were believed to be Muslim in the 21st century? The answer is yes. Do we want to be a nation that embraces people who are different, who are from different countries, who practice Islam, or who are an atheist, or who identify as transgender? I believe that Dr. King would have supported the dreams of all freedom-loving people, the dream that all people are created equal. Many people question the citizenship of the first black president. His wife was called a monkey, and his family, and other derogatory epithets. Is this who we want to be? I think the answer is clearly no. In our hyper-political climate, we find that civil rights issues have often fallen along ideological lines. Real or imagined fear of consequences are cried out as a way to discourage inclusivity and tolerance. What does it mean to be conservative or liberal? Are they not both striving for the same outcome that Dr. King dreamed of? That this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that all men are created equal? If being conservative means that we embrace diversity, that we support religious freedom, and accept people from other nations because diversity is the foundation of the melting pot that we call America, then sign me up. If being liberal means that we are free from oppression and judgment for being different, then sign me up. To my knowledge, Dr. King is the only non-US president to have a memorial to him in our nation's capital, a testament to the legacy he left behind. How many people here will leave such a legacy? Probably none of us. But we can do our part by making the world a better place, a more civil place, a more humane place, and a more stable place with the way we treat people, one person at a time. How do you treat the person who has no value to you? Treat that person well, with compassion, tolerance, and understanding, and you have supported Dr. King's legacy and his memory, and his work will continue. And the work we do here in Attleboro will carry that legacy on. Thank you. And now I have a proclamation. This is whereas Martin Luther King Jr., born in Georgia in 1929 and following family footsteps into the Southern Negro ministry, became a crusader for all mid-century civil rights movement, turning local conflicts into moral issues of national concern. And whereas he convinced that nonviolent resistance was the most potent weapon available to oppressed people in their struggle for freedom, Martin Luther King Jr. won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 for his application of Gandhi's principle to the struggle for racial equality. And whereas we approach the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., let us also strive to fulfill his vision of nonviolence and work together to create a beloved community. Therefore, I do hereby proclaim January 15th, 2018 to be Martin Luther King Jr. in Attleboro, and do urge all residents to pause in a moment in his honor and rededicate ourselves to nonviolent progress towards his great goal of freedom and equality for all. Signed and sealed this 15th day of January 2018 by me, Paul Harrell, Mayor.
Thank you. You got a pen in there. Thank you. Yep. This year we're lucky to have, and I'm pleased to introduce soloist Lisa Stevenson. She's the sister of one of our longtime members, the Reverend Jewel Hardman. Lisa Stevenson is from Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and she's a member of the Fruit of the Spirit Mission Church here in Attleboro. Welcome, Lisa Stevenson.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited about this celebration, and I'm going to be singing 3 songs that they were Martin Luther King Jr.'s favorites. And Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn through and lead me home. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Everyone together, everyone together, everyone together someday. Peace in our hearts, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. I know we can. Reach out and touch your neighbor's hand. Make this world a better place. I know we can. Let's make this world a better place. Oh, yes, we can. Make this world a better place. Yes, we can.
That's hard to follow, but I'll try. So now we're going to hear from our local and state representatives. We're going to start off with our council members. We're going to hear from City Councilor Heather Parika, Vice President of the Attleboro Municipal Council.
That is a tough act to follow right there. I do not have to sing. I would not put us through that bit of torture there. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Heather Parika, and I'm honored to be here representing President Cooper and the City Council. President Cooper sends his regards and truly wishes that he could be with us for this celebration today. With me here today are at-large councilors Jay Delisio, Julie Hall, and Peter Blair, Ward 3 Councilor Todd Kobus, and Ward 6 Councilor Diana Holmes. Thank you very much to the Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial Committee of the Greater Attleboro for continuing their work year after year to celebrate Dr. King's life. I'm both honored and humbled to be able to be part of this wonderful tradition celebrating the life work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Over the past week, I've taken time to reflect on the significance of today and the life and legacy of Dr. King. I couldn't help but have my thoughts be guided to how his message of love and equality and inclusion have profoundly shaped my life. These virtues have been instilled in me in a variety of ways through different personal experiences. Through my deep belief in my faith, I've always been drawn to the message of love and to live by the golden rule, treat others as you would like to be treated. In my home, we sum it up with a simple sign in our kitchen that says, "Nice matters." Dr. King lived a life of faith and love. He was inspired by the teachings of faith to love and to forgive even under the most difficult of circumstances. While I will never truly be able to understand the struggles of inequality that were and still are identified by many in our community, I can identify in a small way as a woman in a leadership role in our community. The perceptions, expectations, and scrutiny still hang in the air even today. While they become whispers in the wind now, they've yet to go completely silent. Dr. King's message of equality has often been simplified to equality between blacks and whites. However, if we listen deeply to his message, it's equality for all. Dr. King taught us that we're all brothers and sisters of this world. White, black, rich, poor, Christian, Jewish, Islamic, the common thread is that we're all people and we all have gifts to offer. In the spirit of Dr. King's work, we owe it to each other to remove labels, stop putting each other in buckets, and realize that we're all people of this world, all part of humankind, and we need to remove the labels and let them fade and vanish forever from our words, our thoughts, and our actions. Right here in Attleboro, I've been so privileged to witness great acts of inclusion. I've been so very fortunate to have been taught how to be more inclusive. It's not necessarily something people of my generation grew up knowing. These teachings have not come specifically from my faith or Dr. King or my own parents, but they've come from my children and the children of this community. I've learned inclusiveness, acceptance, and kindness through the kind actions of children and my children and their peers. I hear the words of hate being replaced with words of love. I see acts of violence being swept away with acts of acceptance. While we have we have a way to go still, I see hope. I'm filled with hope that as Dr. King looks down upon our city, he can see his dream of not only black and white standing together, but all of us, brothers and sisters in humanity, standing together. I'm grateful for our community and our youth as they have embraced the teachings of a man who left us nearly a half century ago. I'm encouraged and I continue to be hopeful that as a community, the words and actions of hate continue to be ushered out and replaced with equality and inclusiveness for all. Thank you all for coming out today. Have a great afternoon.
Lots of new people this year. We got another new face this year. State Senator Paul Feeney.
Thank you so much. Is our soloist, Lisa, you're still here? That was amazing. I think I speak for the rest of the room when I tell you that we didn't just hear you sing, we felt it. I sometimes before I get up, and actually frequently before I get up and give remarks at events, I say a quick prayer to the Holy Spirit to kind of guide me, and you know what, I didn't have to this time, you did it for me, so thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'd like to say hello to the Municipal Council. Thank you so much for your words, Councilor Parika, Mayor Hero. I'd like to begin just by saying how blessed I am to be your state senator, to represent over 150,000 people from Medfield down to Seekonk and Rehoboth is a true honor. But I'm especially proud to represent the city of Attleboro, diverse gateway city that anchors our region with culture, with history, and with character. This annual event that remembers the life of Dr. Martin Luther King is special, and I am so grateful to be here with you this afternoon. I'm not sure how each of you feel, but in light of recent national discourse and the normalization of divisive speech lately, I needed this today. I needed the reminder that even when it seems dark in front of you, that there are people among us who will shine a light. Though mountains may seem insurmountable, there are others ready to carry you up. Though you may feel alone, there is an army of friends around you. And when you feel weak, a strength within you. We must be that for each other now more than ever. That to truly live Dr. King's legacy, we must reflect on his poetic oratory, but most importantly, we must use those spoken words as a call to action. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. inspired a generation to act peacefully in the pursuit of justice, not with an end result or a singular accomplishment, but with lasting purpose and unending resolve. As we approach the 50th anniversary of his death, our struggle in pursuit of true liberty for all has not aged. We face new challenges, and the way in which we communicate has changed, but the struggle against those that wish to divide us is a tale as old as time. Our advantage, though, is that we have the life, legacy, and leadership of Dr. King as our playbook. That if we want to lead the way forward against a new generation of racist rhetoric and institutional hate, that we learn from Dr. King and organize together. around inspirational words and unconditional love. Dr. King didn't teach us how to love. He taught us the importance of love. The rest is up to us. Together, we have the power to change the face of things. Brothers and sisters, we have no choice. If we truly believe in a nation that Dr. King dreamt about, then we must spend our own waking moments reaching for it and working toward it. We must continue to inspire each other, to lift each other up, and to give each other hope and to spread light and love throughout our community and throughout our nation. From the halls of Congress to the chamber in which I serve, to Attleboro City Hall, and right down to our own homes and kitchen tables, we must not be silent. To do so, as Dr. King pointed out, marks the beginning of the end for our own lives. Just as my generation learned from Dr. King and those around him in the civil rights struggle, there is a younger generation watching us right now at this moment. Our response and the way in which we act now not only dictates what happens today, but will most certainly predict the response of a generation tomorrow. We owe it to those in front of us, those among us, and most importantly, to those behind us, to act with purpose, with passion, and with peace. Our fight is right, and our cause is just. Equality does not end with victory at the front of a bus, the end of a bridge, the stool at a lunch counter, or even the seat in a classroom. Dr. King died while sticking up for sanitation workers because he understood that freedom does not exist if economic justice is not delivered. As more and more income and wage inequality causes despair in our communities, we must once again learn from Dr. King and stick together and stand up for each other to realize true freedom and equality with economic justice and with hope. I'll leave you with one of my favorite quotes from St. Francis of Assisi, who told the faithful to, quote, "Go forth and preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words." Let me say that again. When necessary, use words. You see, St. Francis understood, just like Dr. King, that faith and justice was more often caught than taught. That it's our actions that speak a heck of a lot louder than our words. Dr. King knew that his words would inspire and bring people together, but that his peaceful and direct actions, and those of the people around him, would truly change our world for the better. So, it's incumbent upon us, 50 years after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King, that we go forth and bring people together in the cause of justice and equality each and every day, that we spread love in our community and live his legacy. And when necessary, use words. Thank you all so much.
Great job. Well, God answered your prayer on that. He visited you on that one. All right, so we're going to hear from Lisa Nelson. She's the Senior District Representative. She's going to speak on behalf of Congressman Joseph P. Kennedy III. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, now that's two hard acts to follow, right? Exactly. Thank you, Ethel, so much for inviting us to be here. So the Congressman couldn't be here today, but I have his words to share with you, so bear with me. Dear friends, I'm sorry I'm unable to join you this afternoon. The demands of a 2-year-old and a new baby keep me close to home these days. I'm so inspired by the dedication and commitment of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Committee of Greater Attleboro, and I congratulate you on this, the 31st anniversary of your organization. As we recognize the 50th anniversary of his death, it has never been more important that we join together to celebrate his life. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather at a moment when this nation aches for the light of Dr. Martin Luther King, a man who had the audacity to believe that peoples everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits. A man who saw through our differences and focused on our decency. A man who was given every reason to hate, to judge, to divide. A man who spoke truth to power, who reminded the comfortable of their responsibility to help soothe the suffering of those in need of comfort. We today call out for him, for empathy and grace, because today we gather in the shadow of racist comments made by the President of the United States, and I do not use those words lightly. We are saddened, heartbroken, and angry. We rightfully condemn Trump's hateful comments, yet we are not surprised. Not that these words were uttered by President Trump, for there had been ample warning, and most painfully, not that such feelings still exist in our United States, even after all these years. After all the blood, the tears, the lashes, the handcuffs, and the prejudice. After all the progress, hatred and fear still find a home here. So our task is clear. We, our community, rise to meet that anger and hate, for we know this is far bigger than Donald Trump. It is the story of an imperfect people building a yet-to-be-perfect nation. A country that 150 years after the abolition of slavery, half a century after the end of Jim Crow, still fails to judge one another on the content of their character. This moment is not about the overt, clumsy racism of a sheltered man. It's about the subtle, powerful, poisonous racism of a system still bound by injustices big and small. As the proud Haitian American daughter, Edwidge Danticat, reminds us, the disease you ignore is the one that kills you. For too long, this country has ignored the painful reality of her citizens. Racialized housing policies that crippled economic mobility for generations of African American families, a modern-day campaign of voter suppression, disenfranchising Black communities, North and South, East and West, an education system that forces minority communities to make do with bottom-of-the-barrel funding, a criminal justice system where Lady Justice is anything but colorblind, an entire segment of the American population forced to remind their country that their lives matter. And we see the consequences everywhere. The renovation of our neighborhoods that barely touch people of color. The median net worth of a non-immigrant African-American household in Greater Boston is less than a ticket to the movies. The number of hate incidents, including anti-Semitism, in our local schools. So no, our passion, our commitment today must not focus on the words of a man. It must focus on the actions of a country, on the hard, quiet, thankless work of making good on the promises we made for equal justice under the law. Separate is not equal. One nation, under God, indivisible, freedom, liberty. This is about the work we have yet to do, the battles we must still fight, the injustices we cannot allow to find quarter. Those wrongs didn't follow slavery into the annals of our nation's history. They didn't dry up with the ink on the Civil Rights Act. They weren't sworn into our past when our first African-American president placed his hand on Abraham Lincoln's Bible 9 years ago, almost to this day. It can be easy to hate, to grow suspicious, and to turn on each other, to blame another for our struggle. It is a trait as old as human fallibility, but the answer is not to retreat. It isn't to ignore the external symptoms of an internal disease in hopes that time will heal. If we have learned anything, it is that such wounds become persistent, painful scabs. The answer is to channel that legitimate and unavoidable impatience, to build a system radically strong, just, and decent, an eternal antibody to the illness of exclusion and prejudice. A system where there is no other, there is no lesser, there is no them, just us, we, human beings, united by the dignity God granted us all. That is our work in the days ahead, not just to disavow hateful comments, but to build those dikes of courage that will hold back the flood of fear, brick by brick, board by board, nail by nail, to straighten our backs and work for freedom, to carry the words of Dr. King not just in our hearts and heads, but in our deeds, when he said, "Let us all hope that the dark clouds of racial prejudice will soon pass away, and the deep fog of misunderstanding will be lifted from our fear-drenched communities, and in some not too distant tomorrow, the radiant stars of love and brotherhood will shine over our great nation." May we all do our part. Thank you.
I want to thank each of our speakers today. I think each one gave us words to go forth on today. You really did. Everyone sort of knocked it out of the park today. Did you get that on film? Did you get that, Austin? All right, you got it all? Okay, good. I usually take this time to recognize past members of the committee, and I think I only see one, and that's my mom, Mrs. Rachel Garvin, so we want to recognize her. And so that does conclude our program, but I invite you to join us at First Baptist Church at 118 South Main Street for our interfaith service, which starts at 2 p.m. So thank you all again for coming out.